Hello everyone, and welcome to Earth Archives. Before we start the video, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever considered that our understanding of being alone might have been skewed from the very beginning? If you're eating alone, living alone, or just thinking about life by yourself, don't you sometimes wonder if there's something wrong with you? If you've ever felt this way, remember to subscribe, hit like, or share this video with that person who comes to mind, because what we're talking about today might completely change how you think about solitude.
I'll be very direct. The answer might make a lot of people uncomfortable, because the reality is actually the opposite. The real problem isn't being alone. It's that we've been trained not to tolerate being alone. In fact, those who enjoy solitude aren't afraid of silence, and can simply be with themselves actually possess a kind of power that society goes to great lengths to hide, and doesn't want you to discover. Over the years, we've been fed the idea that solitude equals failure, being out of the loop, or being a fringe person. It's as if, unless someone is constantly inviting you out, messaging you, or talking to you, your life must be broken. The scariest part? Most people actually believe this. So every time you decline a gathering or choose to be alone, that familiar inner voice pops up. Am I running away from life? Am I missing out on something?
Hearing you say that really hits me, because I realize that I just want some quiet, yet I feel this inexplicable guilt, as if not socializing is some kind of failure.
Exactly. And that's the core of the problem. This isn't your fault. It's a deeply successful collective suggestion. Society needs you busy, distracted, constantly seeking external validation to confirm your worth. A person who always needs others' approval is the easiest to manage, the easiest to control. Have you noticed that we're rarely taught how to truly be alone? Instead, we're taught to fear emptiness, silence, and a lack of messages. So this need for constant companionship gets packaged as normal, when in reality, it's almost like a collective addiction.
So you're saying that we're not inherently afraid of being alone, we've just been trained not to tolerate it?
Exactly. Jung actually pointed this out a long time ago. He noticed that those who can genuinely enjoy solitude have crossed a very critical psychological threshold. Most people aren't afraid of being without company. They're afraid that when the world quiets down and they're left with themselves, they won't know how to face their inner voice. That's why you see so many people, even with just 5 free minutes, immediately pick up their phone, watch a video, or talk to someone. It's as if the moment they stop, something will catch up to them. That isn't boredom. That's fear.
Listening to you say that, it suddenly feels a little creepy, because it does seem like many people get anxious just being alone.
Exactly. And this isn't by accident. It's a result of a lifelong psychological conditioning. Society keeps telling you that your value comes from external feedback. How many friends you have, how many likes, how many people need you. Being needed gets confused with being valuable. But the truth is harsh. Many people who cannot tolerate being alone may seem lively, outgoing, and surrounded by friends, but internally, they're profoundly empty. They've never actually sat down and asked themselves the question, if no one is watching me, who am I really?
So we've actually been hiding in crowds all along, using busyness as a kind of camouflage?
You've hit the key point. For many people, being in a crowd isn't about connection, it's a shield. Jung called the process of truly becoming yourself individuation. It sounds very artsy, but in reality, it's brutal, because it means letting go of the roles society gave you and stopping yourself from being defined by other people's expectations. And that can never happen amid noise and distraction. It only happens in solitude. The true meaning of being alone isn't that there's no one around, but that you finally sit down and listen to the voices inside you that have long been suppressed, ignored, or denied by yourself.
But a lot of people here face yourself and feel terrified.
That's because it means you're about to encounter your shadow. The word sounds dark, but it's simply the parts of yourself you were forced to hide. All the desires, anger, vulnerability, selfishness, and fears you didn't dare acknowledge. They've been pushed into the shadow. The problem is, if you don't face it voluntarily, it will influence you without your awareness, shape your choices, damage your relationships, and make you repeat the same life patterns over and over.
So solitude is actually for letting the shadow rise?
Exactly. And that's what most people spend their entire lives avoiding. Many would rather keep socializing, keep dating, or keep busy than spend even 1 hour alone, because that 1 hour might let them truly see themselves for the first time. So being socially skilled gets praised, while an inability to be alone gets rationalized. No one tells you that real connection starts with your willingness to be honest with yourself.
And if someone has never connected with themselves, what do they give to others?
Usually just a carefully packaged version, a mask that pleases the world. You think you're loving, giving, or building relationships, but in reality, you're using relationships to prove that you exist. Jung once said something heavy: the unexamined life is not worth living. And true examination doesn't happen at parties or during chats. It happens the moment you're willing to quiet down and face your own inner self.
Hearing this, I suddenly feel like solitude isn't punishment, it's an entrance.
Exactly. Solitude isn't emptiness, it's a door. When you truly walk through it, you'll discover a rare kind of power forming, a sense of stability that no longer needs validation from others. And this power is precisely what society doesn't want you to have, because a person who can be alone, talk to themselves, and think deeply is much harder to control.
So people who enjoy being alone aren't actually avoiding the world?
On the contrary, they've simply seen clearly which noise is just distraction and which connections are false. They're not afraid of people. They know that only in quietness can they piece themselves back together. That's why those who have truly experienced deep solitude carry a kind of stability in their eyes that's impossible to fake. They've done the inner work most people never dare to do in a lifetime.
You just said solitude is a kind of power, but I can't help asking, why is it that almost every historical figure who truly changed the world chose solitude? Is it really a coincidence?
It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. Jung observed that anyone moving toward maturity and wholeness goes through what he called the wilderness phase, a period of loneliness without applause, guidance, or guarantees. Jesus in the wilderness for 40 days, Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree alone, Moses climbing Sinai alone. These stories all point to the same truth. Before a person can become themselves, they must first lose attachment. You must leave familiar crowds, roles, and labels to hear your true inner voice.
So solitude is actually a kind of psychological rite of passage?
Exactly. In many ancient cultures, young people were sent into forests, deserts, or mountains to live alone for a period. No phones, no validation, no one to confirm who they were. The purpose was singular: to confront themselves. Modern society has reversed this. Today, if you're alone, people immediately label you as problematic, antisocial, or in need of rescue. It's not that solitude is a problem. It's that someone who truly experiences it starts to see through too much.
So people who enjoy solitude are actually a destabilizing factor for the system?
Absolutely. When you no longer need external validation, you become hard to control. You no longer follow trends blindly, feel pressured to prove yourself, or fear exclusion. You start asking uncomfortable questions. Do I really need this? Is this the life I truly want? For a system that depends on collective anxiety, comparison, and consumption, this kind of freedom is threatening.
But solitude can be painful. How do I know I'm not just running away?
That's a crucial question. There are two types of solitude: avoidant and chosen. Avoidant solitude comes from anger, hurt, and self-isolation. It makes you bitter and rigid. Chosen solitude comes from honesty and courage. You stop, face the inner chaos and contradictions. The difference isn't whether you're alone. It's whether you're willing to see yourself in that solitude.
So it's actually a kind of psychological training?
Yes, a very intense one. Those who truly step into solitude develop what Jung called the transcendent function, the ability to hold opposites without breaking down. You can be afraid and move forward, vulnerable and strong, doubtful yet loyal to your inner self. This complexity only grows in solitude.
No wonder some people seem so mature and stable, like nothing can shake them.
That's not talent, it's the cost. They've done the inner work most people avoid. Many live their whole lives in black and white terms. Success or failure, loved or abandoned. But life isn't that simple. Only in solitude do you gradually accept that contradictions aren't mistakes. They're the true state of being human.
So if I don't first connect with myself, in relationships, am I basically just acting?
Exactly. You can't give what you don't have. If you haven't seen yourself, what you offer others will only be pleasing, dependent, or controlling. Many relationships hurt not because there's a lack of love, but because both people haven't truly met themselves. Jung said, "An unexamined life is not worth living," and this kind of examination cannot happen in the crowd.
So truly mature love comes from wholeness, not from lack?
Precisely. You no longer seek someone to save you. You choose someone to share life with. You don't love because you need to. You love because you have love to give. This is the transformation solitude brings.
It sounds like solitude is both a responsibility and a freedom.
Yes. The responsibility is that you can no longer blame anyone. The freedom is that you finally take charge of your own life. Those who have truly walked this path carry a quiet, stable strength, not flashy, but whole.
I think I'm ready to start.
Then start today. Give yourself some time alone. Sit, breathe, and ask yourself, who am I in this moment? If this conversation stirred something in you, remember to subscribe, like, and share it with anyone who's learning to be with themselves.